2020, it's the year of Beethoven. Everybody's doing Beethoven. And what's so incredible about the Philadelphia Orchestra is the way they're framing it. They're pairing Beethoven with living composers. Beethoven now. Women now. And I'm so honored to be part of both of these pillars as the Philadelphia Orchestra moves forward and makes this important social progress and continues to be a big force for change and an important spark. And hopefully this starts a movement that other orchestras will follow.
This project is important because it gives an opportunity for composers who have traditionally not been represented in concert halls to have their voice heard. As a composer of color, it is completely amazing to have this opportunity.
We have to bring this genre into the current times, into the 21st century and the struggles of our time. And then here we are, new music composers, all trying to kind of make our way in this genre. So this project that the Philadelphia Orchestra is doing is an incredible approach to that, because we have the music of Beethoven, but we're also kind of getting these pieces that give us an angle into the music of Beethoven.
I'm Gabriella Lena Frank, and I have the pleasure of being the composer in residence with the Philadelphia Orchestra. So I was asked if I would take on another project, another large symphonic work, in order to contextualize Beethoven, who's a giant. He's a giant. But we wanted to see if Beethoven could retain that stature and yet be relatable. And I was asked if I would write response pieces to duos of the symphonies as they were presented over the spring of 2020. And I just didn't have time to take on the whole project, knowing the level that we needed here. And I really tried to make it work. And so I went back to Yannick, and it took just about 5 minutes, and he emailed me back. And he said, what about composers from your Creative Academy, and could you mentor them? And that was the greatest gift that he could give me, and the greatest vote of confidence. So the idea behind the Creative Academy of Music is assembly. Assembly of many different voices. To me, that's so distinctly American. And all their stories, and we've weaved together a pretty amazing tapestry of experiences in this house. We have this palpable ripple effect, but it begins here with our experiences over good food. Food is critical. You're open to what Beethoven could represent.
I'm paired with Symphonies number 2 and 3. My piece is titled Climb, and it's a piece that deals a lot with physical metaphor through the aural lens of music. So I have a form of dysautonomia, and that basically means that my autonomic nervous system malfunctions much of the time. So my piece is taking these physical sensations that I experience and expressing them through aural metaphor. The rushing of my heart, the tachycardia that I experience, the arrhythmias, the palpitations, ringing in my ears, the idea of dizziness or lightheadedness or confusion when pitch kind of glissandos into weird places. You know, this idea of my vision darkening as sound becomes more stark. That's the whole goal, to offer a window into what it feels like to live in a chronically ill body. And I feel like so much of what Beethoven is doing in his later works is trying to share that without crossing a socially acceptable boundary. So now I'm crossing the boundary and trying to open the door and shed light on what it really feels like.
I was approached by Gabriella Lena Frank, a composer in residence with the Philadelphia Orchestra, in a way writing a response to Beethoven's Symphonies 7, 8, and 4. The task is really finding the mix between Beethoven's voice and my voice, and merging the two, if you will. This commission has allowed me to really dig deep and understand his life and understand his struggles. It lifted a veil for me. Beethoven is always shrouded in mystery and grandeur, but you know, reading his journals really let me know that he was a human being and that he went through things just like I'm going through things. My piece is called But Fate Now Conquers. It's inspired by a journal entry that Beethoven wrote in 1815. It's a quote from Homer's Iliad. It says, "But fate now conquers, I am hers." Fate is this thing that we all are dealing with, and we think we can control it, but we have no idea what the future of what we do today will be 60 or 70 or even 250 years from now.
I grew up in Tehran, Iran, but I live in Toronto, Ontario now. During the war, life was about survival, and after the war, I mean, my family would not even think about music lessons. They could not afford any such thing. So music education was very difficult to pursue for me personally. When I'm living in a country where music is being so frequently used as propaganda, and at the same time, certain kinds of music are discouraged. People are not allowed to follow that path. I had to keep my music studies a secret. For this project, I had to re-study the 5th and 6th symphonies because I'm asked to write a piece with the exact same orchestration. The piece is called Jeder Baum spricht, so it's German for every tree speaks, or every tree is speaking. So it's a direct quote from Beethoven. I was trying to think of what would Beethoven, if he was alive today, what would be a topic that he would really care about and he would want to write about. And for me, that was the environment and the environmental catastrophe that we're living today. And it's kind of a cry for help. Not from me, but from the nature, because I'm part of the problem as a person who drives and flies. We know from Beethoven's letters that he took frequent walks in nature, and he loved being in the forest, and he writes frequently about the trees. It's too late to reverse the process, but we can slow it down, and we can still do things to ultimately save the planet. It ends with that hope. I think if we don't have that hope, then we have nothing left.
Since I was a little girl, I was interested in Beethoven because of his hearing loss, and I have a neurosensory hearing loss that I was born with, and still had a heavy speech impediment. And so if I were to talk to him today, two composers, shooting the breeze, respectfully, I would say, you know, you can't have joy without a healthy planet. And so my piece, for the first time, I'm going to address climate action and climate catastrophe and looking towards the future. What kind of legacy are we handing our children? It's daunting, it's frightening, and I feel like I want to be able to sing that ode to joy. So the two symphonies of Beethoven that I'm responding to are 1 and 9, aptly described as bookends, not just for his music, but for his life. And he was a completely different personality at the time of the writing of the Beethoven 9th than he was for the 1st symphony. I think Beethoven has given me a gift that I feel closer to the 3 composers as a result. And that's another reason why we must not give up the giants. Beethoven was a witness for his time and his culture. We understand Beethoven even more when we bring in new voices. And knowing Beethoven, you would understand my music even more. I hope that this leads them to a new set of skills.